Hey everybody, this is Professor Mankowski. In this video, what we're going to do is talk about some of the major formulas in Chapter 6 and what times to use which formula. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring up a new screen here. Okay. So when we're talking about Chapter 6, most of the time questions are going to have us go through two key stages. The first thing that we're going to have to do is compute a z formula. And when we calculate a z value, they can most of the time range in between negative 3.49 and positive 3.49. Now, one of the mistakes students make often is we find out that our z value is equal to 0.49, and we think that translates into a probability of 49%. But that's a mistake. We don't want to make that inference. Now, why is that wrong? It's because our z formula is only giving us the distance between two different numbers. So to find a probability attached to a z value, we have to go and we have to use the z tables next. And remember, our z tables only work in terms of less than probability. Now, we talked about more than one z formula. So which are the different z formulas out there, and when do you use which one? So to start off with, this formula here, we're going to use in terms of situations where we're only looking for probability of an individual data value. And it's worth mentioning here that there's another formula you've seen before that we can get by rearranging the terms in this first formula, and it looks like this. Instead of z being on the left side, x is on the left side. And the reason why is because we're going to end up using this formula in situations when a probability is given first to us. And our job is to find out what x value matches that probability. The last formula that we're going to use is the one shown here on the bottom. And when do we use this one? That's going to be whenever we're working the probability of a sample average, and you might recognize it as the central limit theorem. So let's talk a little bit more about how do you tell in the question, what are the context clues that let you know you're using any of these three formulas. So if we're taking a look at a question like this, how do we know that it matches that first formula? Well, inside the question, they're going to have to mention something about a particular household. So we know that we're looking at just one observation and we're trying to assess a single value, assuming a certain probability. For our next formula in the middle, we're going to use this anytime we have a question, and inside the question, we recognize that there's a probability or an area given inside of that question. That's our big giveaway sign. And for the central limit theorem, the questions are going to be a little bit longer because they're going to be giving you more information. Our formula is bigger. It needs more inputs. So the key aspects of all that information, first is they're going to have to start to talk about a sample size inside of that question. And secondly, they're going to have to mention either a sample average or a sample mean. And that's going to be your cue to know that you're working with the central limit theorem. I hope this formula review was helpful.